In the quiet of night, a whisper lingers through marble halls where time holds its breath. The city of Athens rests beneath silver stars, its stones glowing with ancient memory. Among the ruins and shadows, one name endures: Athena, guardian of wisdom and light. She is not a figure of war, but of thought, guiding seekers with her unseen presence. At the heart of this silence lies a throne, not of gold, but of reason and truth. Legends call it the throne of Athena, a seat where knowledge blooms like an eternal flame. Beside it rests the eternal scroll, a living text that writes itself across generations. Its pages do not fade. They wait, unfolding only for those who dare to ask questions. No conqueror may touch it, for it belongs not to power, but to wonder and curiosity. The scroll speaks in symbols, in echoes of philosophers, poets, and dreamers long gone. Some say it reveals fragments of forgotten worlds, others that it reflects the soul itself. Tonight, we open its first page together, stepping into a journey across time and thought. You are invited to walk gently, to listen closely, and to discover wisdom woven in silence. The story begins where marble meets starlight, and where every question becomes a path. The scroll begins not with ink, but with breath, as though the parchment itself is alive and waiting. It waits for the quiet of mind, for the heart that beats not in haste, but in listening silence. Those who rush past never hear it, for the scroll opens only to those who pause and wonder. A breeze carries a murmur, weaving through olive branches, as though the trees remember. The sound is gentle, like a forgotten song that lingers at the edge of memory and dream. The eternal scroll is not a book, but a mirror of thought, unfolding when eyes turn inward. Legends tell of seekers who stumbled upon its whispers in moments of solitude and doubt. They were not kings or warriors, but ordinary souls guided by curiosity and gentle resolve. The first inscription glows faintly, as if light itself chose to shape words upon the air. It reads, "Wisdom thrives in questions, not in answers, for questions open the unseen door." The listener is invited to linger with this thought, letting the meaning settle like dawn. Answers end a path, but questions are rivers, flowing endlessly, carving new valleys of thought. The scroll does not command, it suggests, it invites, it nudges softly toward discovery. You hear echoes of philosophers long past, their voices not lost, but carried in the wind. One asks the stars why they shine, not for glory, but for the chance to listen to silence. Another kneels at the shore, asking the sea how it remembers every wave, yet forgets each drop. The questions linger, shaping the world more than any answer carved into stone or throne. The eternal scroll breathes with these voices, and through it, Athena's wisdom finds a path. Her presence is not seen, yet felt, a clarity that sharpens thought like sunlight through glass. The seeker feels a calm rising, a sense that to wonder is itself a sacred act of being. The scroll unfolds further, revealing threads of knowledge tied gently to human hearts. It tells of a child asking why shadows follow, and a teacher smiling without reply. The lesson was not the answer, but the courage to keep asking with joy, not with fear. In every age, the scroll opens differently, because each soul carries its own questions. One may see poetry, another may see numbers, a third may hear music in its quiet lines. What remains constant is the invitation to step beyond certainty into the realm of wonder. For the throne of Athena is not guarded by locks, but by the humility to ask anew. The scroll whispers again, "Seek not to own wisdom, but to walk with it, like a friend." this truth hums softly, like a lyre string touched by unseen hands, vibrating through time. The seeker's journey is not a quest for power, but for sight, the ability to see the hidden. Every inscription is a lantern, not blinding, but guiding, leaving shadows intact for contrast. The scroll does not erase mystery, it embraces it, for mystery itself is a form of wisdom. We are reminded that silence, too, is part of the text, the space between each spoken word. The eternal scroll lives not in temples or vaults, but in the breath of questions we carry. Each listener, by hearing these words, becomes part of its unfolding, part of its song. The seeker sits quietly, parchment before them, stars above, and questions within. The night deepens, but the scroll shines brighter, its letters pulsing with quiet fire. The air grows still, as if the world itself leans closer to listen to the fragile wisdom. One final line glows at the bottom of the page, more invitation than command. It says, "Begin where you are, ask with wonder, and let the scroll write itself through you." The seeker closes their eyes, not in sleep, but in stillness, feeling the truth take root. For the scroll has whispered its first gift, and the journey into thought has only begun. The temple rises slowly in the mind, its columns gleaming like ivory against the horizon of dawn. Each step toward it feels like a step into time, as though history itself breathes in the marble. Athens awakens softly, the hum of the city below blending with the quiet song of cicadas. The Parthenon, bathed in golden light, stands not only as stone, but as a vessel of memory. Legends say the stones remember every footstep, each prayer, and each whisper offered here. As the seeker approaches, the air thickens with reverence, like a silence shared by centuries. The temple doors do not creak. They open in the mind, revealing halls shaped by thought itself. Inside, the space is vast yet intimate, filled with echoes that do not fade, but linger gently. There are no torches, yet the marble glows softly, as though Athena's gaze still warms the stone. Every column is a pillar of story, carved not with scenes of battle, but with wisdom and art. The seeker walks slowly, feeling each step like a heartbeat, as if the temple listens in return. There is no crowd, no guide, only the resonance of a place built for dialogue with eternity. A statue of Athena stands in the center, not as conqueror, but as guardian of human thought. Her eyes are calm, carved with serenity, reflecting clarity rather than power or fear. The seeker feels small, yet not diminished, as though welcomed into a greater conversation. Legends say this temple is not merely stone, but a living library of questions unanswered. Every surface hums with the memory of philosophers who once gathered beneath its shade. Here, geometry was not numbers on parchment, but patterns glimpsed in the curve of stone. Here, music was not entertainment, but harmony woven between souls and the stars above. The seeker pauses before a carved frieze, tracing symbols that glow faintly in the quiet. The shapes are ancient, yet they shimmer as though freshly written, alive in their meaning. One phrase becomes clear: truth is not found, it is remembered, like a path beneath leaves. The words stir something within, a reminder that wisdom is not distant, but deeply familiar. The temple does not teach through command. It guides by reminding what the heart already knows. A breeze slips through the columns, carrying the faint fragrance of olive groves nearby. It feels like a blessing, gentle and steady, a reminder of the union of nature and thought. Athena's throne is not yet visible, but her presence fills the space like unseen sunlight. The seeker kneels, not in worship, but in acknowledgement of the harmony woven here. Silence stretches long, but it is not empty. It is rich, carrying the weight of reflection. The marble beneath feels warm, as though touched by countless seekers through the ages. Each came not for riches, but for the chance to listen more deeply to life itself. The seeker rises slowly, eyes drawn upward to the open sky framed by marble pillars. Stars linger even in daylight, faintly visible, as if the heavens lean close to witness. The temple stands between earth and sky, a bridge of thought joining mortal and eternal. It is neither a fortress nor a palace, but a meeting place of ideas and quiet revelation. The seeker senses the eternal scroll nearby, woven into the very breath of the temple. Though unseen, its presence hums, guiding the next step of the unfolding journey. The Parthenon fades into stillness, but its memory imprints itself upon the seeker's soul. For in Athens, stone and story are one, and wisdom lingers in every column that still stands. The temple whispers not of conquest, but of harmony, not of power, but of clarity. And as the seeker turns to leave, the words echo softly. Carry Athens within, wherever you walk. Athena's presence does not arrive with thunder, nor with fire, but with a calm that softens the air. Her essence moves like a gentle tide, shaping thought, guiding without chains, ruling without force. The seeker feels her not as a shadow, but as clarity, a quiet voice that sharpens the edges of mind. Legends describe her as goddess of wisdom. Yet here she is more than myth. She is a living guide. Her throne is not a seat of jewels or marble, but a space of thought that exists beyond form. It rises wherever questions are asked with honesty, wherever minds reach beyond what is seen. The seeker stands still, eyes drawn toward an empty circle of stone within the temple's heart. There is no crown, no weapon, only light falling gently across the smooth surface of the floor. In that space, one understands. Athena's throne is not built. It is found in perception itself. To sit upon it is not to command others, but to recognize the harmony that binds all beings. Her wisdom is not offered as treasure, but as responsibility, a calling to use thought with care. The seeker feels her nearness in the hush between breaths, a reminder that silence is a teacher. She whispers not of conquest, but of balance, of choices shaped by kindness more than by pride. In stories told by elders, Athena wove peace between warring hearts with nothing but reason. She placed olive branches in their hands, symbols of a strength greater than sword or spear. The seeker imagines her presence now, watching kindly, inviting thought rather than obedience. The marble floor seems to shimmer, carrying words unseen, woven into the fabric of the hall. Wisdom, the whisper says, is not weight to be carried, but a flame to be shared with care. The seeker bows the head, not from fear, but from recognition of a truth both simple and vast. Athena's gaze feels like morning light, illuminating not the temple, but the heart within. Her presence guides the seeker to recall that knowledge without compassion becomes hollow. The throne of Athena shines only for those who understand that thought must serve life. The seeker reflects on lives shaped not by force, but by words, by learning, by gentle teaching. Teachers in forgotten courtyards, poets under stars, scholars by lamplight, all bore her gift. Each became a fragment of her throne. Each question asked became another stone in its circle. The seeker realizes the throne is not one seat, but countless, scattered across the world. It exists wherever wisdom is chosen over pride, wherever questions are honored over silence. The temple air deepens, as though the universe pauses to affirm this quiet revelation. Athena's presence is not distant. She is woven into the thoughts of those who dare to wonder. The seeker sits upon the smooth stone floor, and in that act becomes part of her throne. It is not grandeur that fills the heart, but humility, the sense of joining a greater harmony. The unseen voice continues, softer now. To seek wisdom is to serve more than the self. These words echo like ripples across a pond, spreading outward into every corner of being. The seeker breathes deeply, knowing this moment is not possession, but participation. Athena's presence is not to be captured, but to be carried, like a melody remembered in silence. The temple glows faintly, as though the marble itself smiles at the seeker's understanding. Athena does not appear in form, for she does not need to. Her throne is the mind awakened, and as the seeker rises, the lesson settles gently. Wisdom is not distant. It is already within. The presence fades not into absence, but into memory, a light the seeker will never lose. The scroll does not wait for kings, nor for scholars alone, but for the quiet step of the ordinary seeker. Its wisdom is not hidden behind walls of power, but offered to the one who dares to wonder. The seeker feels this truth settle deeply, as though the temple itself breathes it into the heart. A call rises, not in sound, but in stillness. A summons that echoes without words or commands. The call does not demand strength, wealth, or greatness, but something far more subtle and rare. It asks for curiosity, the courage to ask questions without fear of seeming small or foolish. It asks for humility, the willingness to listen when silence speaks more clearly than voices. The seeker senses the eternal scroll waiting, not judging, but observing with infinite patience. It has opened before many, yet each time its script has been unique, shaped by the reader's soul. The call to the seeker is not a prize to win, but a path to walk, one step after another. The temple air grows lighter, as if the walls themselves lean forward to hear the next thought. The seeker wonders if this invitation has always been present, hidden in plain sight of life. Perhaps the scroll has whispered in the rustle of leaves, in starlight, in dreams long forgotten. Perhaps it has been speaking through questions that never found their answers in childhood. The call is a reminder that wisdom is not distant, but already within the heart's desire to seek. A whisper forms, gentle as the breeze. To seek is to belong, for the path itself is the home. The seeker feels a warmth spread through the chest, a clarity that makes every breath brighter. It is not a commandment, but an opening door, one that welcomes without condition or test. The eternal scroll does not measure worth by titles, but by the honesty of one's wonder. A child asking why the sun rises may be closer to the throne than a scholar lost in pride. The seeker recalls questions once silenced, now returning like birds, finding their way home. Why does beauty move the heart? Where does silence end? What is the shape of truth? These are not riddles to be solved, but rivers that flow, carrying the seeker ever further. The call grows clearer, resonating not in the ear, but in the quietest chamber of the mind. It says, walk forward, not to know everything, but to be willing to learn from everything. The seeker rises slowly, guided not by map or compass, but by the pull of invisible threads. Each thread is a question, shining faintly, weaving a path deeper into the temple of thought. The marble floor beneath glows faintly, tracing symbols that move with the seeker's steps. They shift and swirl, forming patterns that vanish if stared at, but glow if simply trusted. The seeker realizes the path is shaped by intention, unfolding only with each honest step. To hesitate is to stand still, but to walk with openness is to see the scroll reveal itself. The call to the seeker is not a test of strength, but a measure of courage to remain curious. The seeker feels light on the skin, as though dawn breaks within, even in the still of night. Every question once buried rises again, not heavy, but luminous, like stars at twilight. The scroll hums softly, as if acknowledging the seeker's willingness to walk with uncertainty. For the throne of Athena does not promise certainty, but harmony, clarity, and balance. The seeker breathes deeply, stepping into the silence, carrying questions like lanterns. Each glow of curiosity lights the way, revealing the scroll as a living thread of wisdom. The call is answered not with words, but with presence, with the simple act of listening. The seeker has begun the journey, guided not by answers, but by the endless flame of wonder. The seeker steps deeper into the hall, where silence gathers like a river hidden beneath stone. Every sound is softened. Every breath feels like part of an ancient rhythm older than time. The columns stand tall, carved with patterns that seem both geometric and alive with motion. As the seeker's hand brushes against one, warmth radiates, as though memory lingers in stone. The walls hold not images of battle, but of owls, olive trees, and stars linked in quiet lines. Each carving seems to shift, depending on the angle of the gaze, revealing new layers of meaning. An owl's eyes glow faintly, not with fire, but with a light that feels like silent recognition. It does not speak, yet its presence carries a message. Wisdom is always watching, always near. The seeker feels small before it, not with fear, but with reverence, like standing before night sky. The carvings tell no stories of conquest, only of questions asked by those long before. A figure is etched kneeling before the scroll, not reading, but listening with open hands. Another shows a child tracing letters in the air, the script shining as if alive. The seeker realizes this temple is not a place of answers, but of questions preserved. Every question etched in stone is still alive, carried forward by those who enter with wonder. The eternal scroll is not bound by one age. It is renewed with each seeker who arrives. The seeker steps forward again, the floor beneath glowing faintly with intricate designs. These designs form a path that winds like a river, flowing toward a distant archway. The arch is framed by olive branches, carved so finely they seem ready to sway in wind. A soft hum rises, not from the scroll, but from the path itself, like a guiding song. The seeker follows, each step aligning with the rhythm, as though walking inside a melody. The air thickens, not with heaviness, but with presence, as if unseen eyes observe the journey. The seeker recalls words heard once in a dream. Wisdom is not taken, it is shared. That phrase now feels alive, echoing in the arches, carried by the hum of the temple. A realization dawns. The throne of Athena is not only a seat, but a mirror of the soul. The scroll reveals not what the world dictates, but what the heart dares to uncover. The seeker slows near the arch, where light spills softly like water over stone. It feels as if crossing the arch will open a passage not into distance, but into depth. The carvings here show not figures or objects, but spirals, infinite and interwoven. Each spiral seems to move, drawing the gaze inward, pulling thought into reflection. The seeker senses the spirals are questions without end, cycles of thought repeating and renewing. To step through the arch is to accept that knowledge has no final resting place. It is to embrace that wisdom is not owned, but endlessly unfolding, like breath itself. The seeker breathes deeply, heart steady, feet light, and steps through the arch. On the other side, the chamber opens wide, bathed in a glow both gentle and vast. At its center rests a pedestal of marble, plain and unadorned, but radiant with presence. Upon it lies the eternal scroll, unrolled just enough to reveal glowing lines of script. The letters shift and shimmer, unreadable yet strangely familiar, like a memory half remembered. They move like water, forming shapes that dissolve, only to reappear as new thoughts. The seeker approaches, yet no command arises to touch, read, or take the scroll. Instead, a silence falls deeper, inviting only stillness, only listening without intent. The seeker kneels, not from command, but from the weight of awe, before the living text. The scroll pulses gently, as if acknowledging presence, as if breathing in rhythm with the seeker. It does not reveal words, but a reflection, showing thoughts unspoken yet deeply felt. The seeker sees not prophecy, but self, woven into the endless fabric of questioning. The throne of Athena is not seated nearby, yet the scroll itself feels like her presence. It is wisdom personified, both near and infinite, both silent and resounding. The seeker remains still, heart open, aware that the journey has only just begun. The chamber holds its breath as the seeker kneels before the scroll, bathed in its gentle glow. The words shimmer like water in sunlight, never fixed, always shifting with unseen rhythm. They are not letters of language, but shapes of thought, flowing like rivers across marble. The seeker leans closer, not to read, but to feel, as if the script carries its own heartbeat. Each line pulses faintly, echoing the rhythm of breath, the rhythm of silence itself. The scroll does not give answers, but opens spaces where questions grow into gardens. The seeker feels one such question rise unbidden. What does it mean to truly see? The letters ripple, forming circles, and in their movement, a vision quietly unfolds. Athens appears, not in ruins, but alive. Streets filled with voices and olive branches swaying. Philosophers gather under trees, children laugh, elders tell stories that echo into dusk. It is a city of dialogue, not conquest, a place where wisdom is passed hand to hand. The vision shows a woman beneath an olive tree, her eyes calm, her presence steady. Though unspoken, the seeker knows. This is Athena, not as a statue, but as living thought. She raises her hand not to command, but to welcome, a gesture that opens without demand. Her lips do not move, yet the seeker hears. Wisdom is not in knowing, but in listening. The vision softens, fading like morning mist, leaving only the glow of the scroll. The seeker trembles, not from fear, but from the weight of being seen by truth itself. Another ripple forms, this time showing a mirror that floats above the scroll's surface. The seeker gazes in, expecting a reflection of the face, but sees instead the inner self. Every question once asked shines like stars within the mirror, bright and uncountable. Some stars glow steady, representing questions asked with honesty and wonder. Others flicker faintly, questions once silenced or ignored, waiting for voice again. The seeker realizes the scroll holds not answers, but the seeker's own journey of inquiry. It reveals that every question is alive, a seed planted in the soil of thought. Whether nurtured or abandoned, the questions remain, shaping the landscape within. The mirror fades, the scroll settling back into its gentle hum of presence. The seeker feels lighter, as though something unseen has been returned to the heart. The chamber itself responds, marble columns glowing faintly like constellations. Symbols carved in stone shift, forming owls in flight, olive branches weaving overhead. The entire hall becomes alive with thought, a tapestry of questions made visible. The seeker understands. The eternal scroll is not an object, but a living exchange. It speaks only when one dares to listen, when silence is embraced without fear. No crown, no scepter, no conquest can claim it. It belongs only to the curious. The seeker bows the head, whispering gratitude into the stillness, though no words are needed. The scroll hums in reply, not with sound, but with warmth that spreads through the room. It feels like being wrapped in dawn, a light that carries both comfort and awakening. The seeker rises slowly, aware that something has shifted, though nothing is visibly changed. Every step forward feels guided now, as though the temple itself has become a companion. The columns seem to lean inward, the floor patterns glowing with each footfall. The seeker knows this chamber is not the end, but only the threshold of greater passage. The scroll has revealed the path inward, but the journey outward still awaits discovery. For wisdom is not kept inside marble walls, but carried into the world beyond. The seeker breathes deeply, carrying the vision of Athens alive with voices and stars. With each heartbeat, the truth lingers. The eternal scroll does not teach, it awakens. The seeker turns from the pedestal, walking toward the shadows where light begins again. And in the silence, the scroll continues to hum, waiting for the next seeker to arrive. The seeker steps away from the scroll, carrying silence like a lantern that glows without flame. The chamber stretches into a corridor, lined with arches that frame shifting patterns of light. Each arch feels alive, as though it waits to reveal a truth only when passed with intention. The seeker pauses at the first arch, carved with waves that seem to rise and fall in rhythm. As the step is taken, the hum of the temple deepens, and the air fills with the scent of salt. The corridor dissolves into a shoreline, waves washing gently against smooth, timeless stone. It is neither sea nor river, but something between, flowing endlessly into a horizon without end. On the surface of the water, words drift like petals, glowing faintly before sinking into depth. The seeker bends closer, reading fragments that echo with questions of forgotten ages. Where does memory go when silence holds it? What is the weight of a promise unspoken? The waves answer not with words, but with rhythm, pulling questions into their eternal dance. The seeker senses that water is wisdom itself, teaching through cycles, never claiming stillness. Just as thought flows, so too does the sea, carrying fragments from past into present. The vision fades as the seeker passes through, returning again to the marble corridor. The second arch rises ahead, adorned with olive branches, leaves shimmering like morning dew. Crossing beneath it, the air grows warm, filled with the scent of earth after gentle rain. The seeker finds a grove of olive trees, endless, stretching under skies painted with twilight. In the branches perch countless owls, their eyes bright as stars, watching with quiet patience. A child walks among the trees, tracing shapes in the soil with fingers that leave glowing marks. Each mark becomes a symbol, a question written not for answer, but for remembrance. The owls stir, wings rustling, and the grove hums with the sound of unspoken wisdom. The seeker kneels beside the child, though no words are exchanged, only shared silence. The child looks up with a smile, as if to say, "Every question belongs to all who wonder." The vision fades, leaving the seeker back beneath arches that stretch endlessly forward. The third arch waits, adorned with stars etched so finely they seem to shimmer and move. As it is crossed, the corridor opens into a sky vast and endless, constellations burning bright. The stars weave into patterns, each forming a story told by light across the dark canvas. Voices rise faintly, not from the heavens, but from within, questions echoing in many tongues. The seeker realizes each constellation is a question shared across centuries, glowing, eternal. Why are we here? What is beauty? How does the soul endure? The stars pulse gently, as if reminding that no single voice owns the question of existence. The seeker feels the enormity of humanity's shared wonder, a chorus sung across time. It is humbling, yet comforting, to know that to question is to be united with countless souls. The sky slowly folds back into marble, and the seeker stands once again in silence. 3 arches passed, 3 visions gifted, each a fragment of wisdom carried forward. The corridor stretches on, arches glowing faintly, promising more mysteries yet to come. The seeker pauses, hand pressed against the cool stone, heart steady with quiet awe. Every vision has revealed not an answer, but a way of seeing, a new lens for the soul. The seeker breathes deeply, carrying the rhythm of waves, the stillness of trees, the vastness of stars. The corridor hums, alive, as though the temple itself acknowledges the lessons absorbed. Wisdom, the seeker understands, is not a treasure locked in scrolls, but a living current. It moves through sea, tree, and sky, through silence, through voices, through endless time. The seeker steps forward once more, eager not for conclusion, but for the next unfolding path. The seeker walks deeper, each step echoing softly, as though the corridor itself listens in silence. Ahead, another arch gleams, carved with spirals that seem to turn slowly, though the stone remains still. Crossing beneath it, the air thickens, glowing with light that bends and folds like flowing water. The seeker enters a vast hall where mirrors rise like columns, endless, reaching upward into unseen heights. Each mirror shimmers, not with reflection, but with fragments of moments scattered like threads of memory. The seeker approaches one and sees not a face, but a vision of a path not taken. In it lies a forked road, a choice long past, glowing as if alive in timeless possibility. The seeker turns to another mirror, and there unfolds a moment of laughter once lost to time. The sound is soft, familiar, filling the hall with warmth that lingers like the fragrance of spring. Each mirror offers not a future, nor a past, but the question of what might have been. The seeker touches the cool glass, and the vision ripples, dissolving into soft streams of light. A whisper follows. Every path walked is also a path left behind, yet none are ever lost. The hall hums with gentle resonance, as if countless voices speak at once, yet remain in harmony. The seeker breathes slowly, realizing wisdom lies not in regret, but in honoring what was chosen. The vision shifts again, and the mirrors fade into a circle of stone lit by soft fire. In the circle sit figures cloaked in shadow, their faces hidden, yet their presence deeply familiar. They do not speak, yet questions rise like sparks, drifting into the air and hovering with glow. The seeker feels their gaze, not heavy, but inviting, urging reflection without fear of judgment. One figure leans forward, lifting a hand, and within the palm a small flame flickers alive. It burns not with heat, but with clarity, its light revealing truths long buried within the heart. The seeker understands. These shadows are not strangers, but echoes of the self across time and choice. They are the voices within, the fragments of identity that shape, question, and grow together. The flame shifts color, turning from gold to silver, then to deep blue, before vanishing into air. The figures bow their heads, as if to say, wisdom blooms when all voices are heard. The hall dissolves once more, and the seeker stands again, before arches glowing with soft radiance. Another arch awaits, adorned with lines that cross and weave into patterns like woven cloth. Passing through, the seeker steps into a garden, where paths stretch endlessly in every direction. Each path is lined with lanterns, glowing with hues that shift as one approaches closer to them. Some lanterns burn bright with joy, others shimmer faintly with sorrow, and some glow with wonder. The seeker walks slowly, noticing that each lantern responds, flickering stronger as steps draw near. They are memories, not personal, but collective, each one carrying fragments of countless lives. In the garden, the seeker feels surrounded by voices, not spoken aloud but carried in light. Every lantern tells a story, not of answers, but of questions held close by unseen souls. The seeker kneels beside one lantern, glowing green, and senses the question within. What is hope? Another lantern, golden, whispers a different wonder. What does it mean to truly belong? The garden hums with these questions, alive, shifting, reminding that to live is to carry inquiry. The seeker lingers, heart open, listening not for answers, but for the beauty of shared longing. As the garden fades, the seeker carries its light forward, a quiet constellation within the soul. The corridor returns, arches endless, yet each now feels alive with memory, vision, and quiet truth. The seeker understands. Every threshold is not just a passage, but an invitation to reflection. The journey continues, and the next arch glimmers faintly, awaiting footsteps, awaiting wonder, yet untold. The seeker moves forward, guided by arches that shimmer like echoes of dreams waiting to be awakened. Ahead, a new threshold glows, etched with circles that ripple outward like water touched by wind. Crossing beneath, the seeker enters a chamber vast and open, filled with floating orbs of light. Each orb drifts gently, glowing with soft radiance, carrying whispers of questions suspended in time. The air hums with resonance, as though every orb vibrates with thought waiting to be discovered. The seeker reaches toward one, and the light flares softly, unfolding a vision in the air. It shows a marketplace, ancient yet familiar, where voices rise with laughter and barter of words. No coin passes hands, only questions, exchanged like treasures between strangers who smile with recognition. What stirs your heart at dawn? Asks one, offering the question as if it were bread. The other responds not with answer, but with a new question. What keeps you awake at night? The seeker watches as the market thrives, built not on goods, but on curiosity shared openly. The orb drifts away, and another approaches, glowing deep blue like the surface of midnight seas. It reveals a vision of a library, its shelves endless, its books breathing as though alive. Each book hums with energy, its pages blank until touched by a curious hand or mind. The seeker steps closer within the vision and opens a book that blooms with symbols of light. The words shift and form questions, each one shaping itself to the heart of the reader. What do you seek most? Where does kindness begin? What is the shape of silence? The library is alive with readers, each discovering their own questions, blooming upon the pages. No two books are the same, for every soul draws forth its own living text of wonder. The vision dissolves, and the orb drifts upward, fading into the ceiling like a fallen star. Another orb hovers near, glowing golden, and it unfolds a vision of a circle of voices. Men and women, young and old, gather in a clearing, speaking not to answer, but to listen. Each voice is steady, carrying questions like rivers that weave together without end or conclusion. The seeker hears a woman's voice. What is love when stripped of expectation? Then a child. Where does laughter go when forgotten? Then an elder. How do we carry light when shadows grow long? No one answers. Yet all nod, as though the sharing itself is the answer they seek. The seeker feels warmth in the heart, recognizing wisdom not as solitary, but as shared presence. The orb dims, and the chamber glows again with countless drifting lights, each holding unspoken truths. The seeker walks among them, not to capture, but to learn, to hold questions with reverence. Every orb reminds that wisdom is alive, carried in voices, in silence, in visions that shift. The chamber slowly fades, and the seeker steps once more into the marble corridor of arches. The next threshold shimmers ahead, carved with lines of script no tongue has ever spoken. The seeker stands still, reflecting on the visions carried from this hall of questions eternal. The heart, marketplace of wonder, the library of living books, the circle of shared voices. Each vision teaches that to question is to live, to connect, to weave threads across time. The seeker closes eyes, carrying light of orbs within, a quiet constellation of questions untamed. The corridor breathes around, as though the temple itself listens and waits for the next step. And so the seeker walks onward, heart steady, toward the arch that glimmers with unread mysteries. The seeker advances, the corridor bending gently, arches glowing like stars, guiding the way through silence. Ahead, the next arch shimmers with feathered wings carved in stone, spread wide as if in flight. Crossing beneath, the seeker feels the air lighten, carrying whispers like songs carried by the wind. The chamber opens into a vast expanse where no walls confine, only sky stretching without end. Clouds drift slowly, golden with light, and among them glide great birds with wings vast and strong. Each bird carries a scroll bound in ribbon, shimmering as though written with threads of dawn. The seeker watches as one bird descends, circling gracefully before landing upon unseen ground. It bows its head, releasing the scroll, which unravels itself into air with glowing letters. The words form not sentences, but questions. What is freedom? Where does truth find its wings? The seeker feels the questions rise into the air, carried onward by wind, never answered, yet alive. Another bird glides past, its scroll unfolding into symbols that twist like constellations across the sky. The seeker traces them with eyes, sensing their meaning not in words, but in rhythm and flow. They whisper, "Is wisdom a destination, or the journey itself?" The birds soar higher, their wings stirring currents that ripple through the vastness of endless sky. Each movement feels like thought embodied, each flight a question rising toward horizons unseen. The seeker steps forward, and suddenly the clouds part, revealing a staircase carved from light. It spirals upward, glowing faintly, and with each step taken, the sound of wings grows louder. The staircase leads to a platform, suspended in sky, where no ground exists, only radiant stillness. Here stands a table of stone, simple, yet etched with countless questions that shimmer and fade. Across the table sits a figure cloaked in robes of sky, face hidden behind a veil of light. The figure speaks not, yet the seeker feels words within, carried not by sound, but by presence. You carry questions as others carry lanterns. Do you see them as burdens or as gifts? The seeker does not answer aloud. But the heart whispers softly, they are both, and yet more. The figure lifts a hand, and the questions etched on the table rise, circling into the air. They drift like feathers, some light, some heavy, yet all moving gently with unseen purpose. The seeker realizes, questions are not chains, but wings, lifting thought beyond the reach of certainty. The figure bows, and the veil of light dissolves into sky, leaving only silence and stillness. The seeker stands alone upon the platform, though it does not feel like solitude, but belonging. Slowly, the platform fades, and the seeker descends back into the corridor of endless arches. The air feels different now, lighter, filled with echoes of wings that linger in memory. The seeker walks with steady steps, carrying the lesson etched deep within the heart. That freedom is not found in having answers, but in daring to let questions take flight. Ahead, another arch glimmers, carved with flowing streams, their curves alive with rhythm and song. The seeker pauses, hand upon the cool marble, listening to the hum that grows stronger still. Every vision deepens the path, each threshold unfolding not truth, but the courage to keep seeking. And so, with calm resolve, the seeker steps forward once again, into mystery, into wonder, into light. The seeker reaches the final arch, its surface carved not with symbols, but with silence itself. It glows softly, as though it is not stone, but breath, waiting, inviting, alive with stillness. Crossing beneath, the seeker finds a chamber vast and empty, lit only by the glow of sky. No scrolls, no mirrors, no voices, only quiet air, where thought itself feels sacred and whole. At the center lies a throne, carved from marble, yet softened by time into curves of grace. It is not grand, not gilded, but simple, formed as though from silence itself, shaped by patience. Beside the throne rests the eternal scroll, its pages blank, glowing faintly with light unspoken. The seeker approaches slowly, feeling not fear, but awe, as if stepping into the heart of truth. The scroll stirs, pages fluttering though no wind moves, whispering softly like leaves under moonlight. It reveals not answers, but questions, each one more delicate than the last, woven into silence. What is wisdom, if not the courage to wonder? What is eternity, if not a question that never fades? The seeker places a hand upon the scroll, and the chamber fills with light, soft and endless. Visions bloom, arches, birds, lanterns, stars, water, trees, all returning like friends, each carrying their gentle question. The throne hums, not as a seat of power, but as a reminder that thought itself is sacred. The seeker realizes the throne was never meant for one, but for all who choose to listen. It is a place not of rule, but of reflection, where silence crowns every soul with wonder. The scroll closes itself gently, as though content, glowing softly as it returns to its stillness. The seeker breathes deeply, feeling the weight of journey dissolve into quiet clarity. The chamber does not fade, for it was never separate. It has always been within the heart. The seeker steps back, knowing the throne is not to be claimed, but to be remembered. It belongs not to kings or conquerors, but to every voice that dares to ask gently. Every question, whispered or shouted, belongs here, woven into the scroll, into the silence of time. The seeker walks toward the light of the arch, carrying not answers, but a lantern of wonder. The corridor stretches once more, though now it feels less like stone and more like open sky. Arches glow softly behind, like constellations guiding the path that has already been walked. The seeker understands. The journey does not end at the throne. for the scroll is never closed. Every step forward is a page, every question another thread woven into eternity. The temple itself begins to fade, returning not to stone, but to memory, to presence within. The seeker steps out into the night of Athens, where marble meets starlight, where silence waits. The city breathes as it always has, ancient and alive, holding wisdom in stones, in shadows, in air. The seeker looks up, and the stars shimmer as if they too hold unspoken questions of their own. In that quiet moment, the seeker knows the eternal scroll is not bound to a chamber of stone. It lives wherever wonder stirs, wherever a question lingers, wherever silence listens patiently. The throne is not a destination, but a reminder that wisdom dwells within every soul. The seeker walks onward, heart steady, carrying light unseen, carrying silence like a crown of stars. The journey ends not in answers, but in the endless beauty of questions that forever remain.